NBC. Fresh headlines out of the White House regarding its role in the "You're a Nazi appeaser" story. Bush counselor Ed Gillespie claimed to reporters on board Air Force One today that the White House did not anticipate the reaction of congressional leaders to the Knesset speech. He called the reaction unjustified and unwarranted. He says the reaction left him surprised and curious. Here's where the phrase, comes to mind. Because since Monday, senior administration officials, other than Mr. Gillespie, had been previewing the language of Mr. Bush's speech by telling NBC News that eyebrows would be raised by specifically mentioning Senator Obama by name, even by predicting that our White House correspondent, John Yang, would get on nightly news with a story about Bush's remarks on Thursday night. Joining us now, our own Jonathan Alter, also a senior editor at Newsweek magazine. Hi, John.
Hey, Rachel.
Ed Gillespie also challenged Speaker Pelosi and Senator Biden, the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, to point to a sentence that they would say is reckless or outrageous. Since he's asking, how about we start with the idea that Senator Obama or any other Democrat has advocated giving Iran anything in the hope that will satisfy their desires, which of course is the definition of appeasement. What if we start with the idea that there's no actual appeasement in this entire fight over appeasement?
Well, that's very true, and as we saw in this now famous exchange between Chris Matthews and this blowhard right-wing radio talk show host, a lot of people don't know what appeasement actually means. So I think what they were trying to do here was just tar him with a broad brush and sort of name call from the Knesset, which was rather distasteful on the 60th anniversary of the birth of the State of Israel. But to try to inject themselves into domestic American politics from foreign soil, which has been done once in a while over the last 60 years, but has basically been just frowned upon by Democrats and Republicans going back to the late 1940s, when the idea of foreign policy disputes ending at the water's edge first emerged from Harry Truman and Senator Arthur Vandenberg. So this was a direct violation of 60 years of American foreign policy. And it's interesting that they're backing and filling now. The latest thing Ed Gillespie says it was Jimmy Carter that they were aiming for because he, supports talks with Hamas. So at this point, the White House can't get its story straight.
It seems to me that one of the biggest risks to McCain's campaign on security issues is that the debate does get framed as Obama v. Bush on Iran, because Bush strengthened Iran's hand more than they could have ever done for themselves when he knocked off their secular Sunni rival next door by toppling Saddam Hussein. Do you feel like this is a real risk for John McCain's campaign, or is that too complex an idea to really sink in for presidential politics?
I think it might be too complex of an idea. McCain is applying the, KISS strategy. Keep it simple, stupid. They're the bad guys, we're the good guys. Don't talk to the bad guys. Obama has a little bit of a more difficult message to make, but I think it's one that there's more receptiveness to now than there was just a few years ago, which is that you have to talk to the bad guys, that's what diplomacy is about, and that it's easy to talk to the good guys. What's tough is what, everybody from Franklin Roosevelt to Richard Nixon with Mao Zedong did, Ronald Reagan with the evil empire. You have to talk to your enemies. And I do think that Obama can get that message across, but it's a lot harder to actually try to get into the nitty-gritty of Iranian-Iraqi politics.
Although maybe simplifying it to "we're not safer" is maybe the shortcut to that. One last question for you, John. One note on how the White House spin on Bush's comments, how the White House has spun it. The White House, in previewing the speech, prepared the media to expect an attack on Obama. Right. Either it was always going to be by merely alluding to him without using his name, or they dialed back from what they originally intended. If they dialed back, does that maybe suggest some sort of collaboration with the McCain campaign, maybe cold feet?
I don't think they were going to mention him by name. And an occasion of that kind, you wouldn't actually single out somebody directly. But they may have dialed back the language a little bit. Clearly, there was some kind of coordination here with McCain, who leapt on this, and I think now is wondering, was that really the smart thing to do? Because Obama executed a kind of a jiu-jitsu. He came back very tough today, and I think he scored on McCain.
visibly read the enthusiasm in Obama's body language to get into this fight.
Yeah.
Jonathan Alter, senior editor of Newsweek magazine, also an MSNBC political analyst. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks, Rachel.
Senator McCain's speech today was possibly not the most shocking thing said at the NRA convention in Louisville. That honor goes to former Republican candidate Mike Huckabee, who responded to a sharp noise in the hall, maybe a chair that fell over, by joking that perhaps something bad had happened to Senator Obama.
But the reality is, and I'm worried because, frankly, that was Barack Obama. He just tripped off a chair. He's getting ready to speak, and somebody aimed a gun at him, and he dove for the floor.
Governor Huckabee realizing exactly how inappropriate his joke was, issuing a statement just moments ago in which he says, quote, "I had made an offhand remark that was in no way intended to offend or disparage Senator Obama. I hope that my comments were offensive. I apologize that my comments were offensive. That was never my intention." The thing John McCain is criticizing Obama for right now, engaging with our enemies, turns out Mr. Straight Talk himself advocated the U.S. engaging with Hamas 2 years ago. And is this the presidential way to show solidarity with the thousands of American men and women in harm's way in Iraq and Afghanistan? Is this really better than playing golf? You're watching Countdown on MSNBC.